What's going on with Mr. Riggins? Bunch of this?
Yep.
Yeah, especially with Calvin.
Yeah, especially with...
Sure. Was he like this with Michelle this week?
Well, whenever we were in the little lobby, but then as soon as we walked over here, he didn't...
Wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Let him chill out for a minute here. I know, dude. You're acting so tough.
Good boy, that's it.
How old is he?
2.
2?
He just turned 2.
No.
Nice.
Yeah.
And has he kind of always been like this?
Not until... At the beginning, he was fine. And then maybe like once we couldn't be outside. He was a COVID puppy. So once we couldn't be outside anymore, maybe like around Thanksgiving time.
Sure.
So 6 months,
I gotcha.
he just wasn't around people anymore.
Yep. Okay. And then you just started noticing the behavior kind of intensify, or?
In the house.
Yeah, around the house, especially, and with dogs, you just...
Sure. Okay, I gotcha. And has he ever actually bitten anybody before?
He's nipped 2 people on the back of the calf.
Okay.
Not hard to the break skin or just like when they're not paying attention, he already like calms down and he's just like walking around.
Then gets startled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I gotcha. So both those situations, they were ignoring him. They were just walking around. He was walking around, then suddenly, whatever, something happened, and okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. Just kind of like, why are you in my house?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sure. Okay.
And always like follow people and like he won't like nip them, but like he goes like right behind their heels, like he's going to.
Yeah.
And it's like I like.
He does that to our brother-in-law.
Yeah. Like, just always like if you always like face him and look him in the eyes, he's like not gonna.
Yeah. I gotcha. All right. How's his like food motivation and stuff? Does he have
not
much?
Food motivated.
Not food motivated?
No.
Bummer, dude.
No, like we tried the like roasted chicken.
Yeah.
To take him to the vet with.
Uninterested. Now let me ask you this: is he not food motivated in states of high stress, or is he just not food motivated?
He's really not food motivated at all.
No.
Like, I mean, if it is like a roast chicken, he'll probably eat it. But like, even with his like dinner and like treats, just like even we're just like when we were walking him around.
Sure.
The neighborhood when we first got him, like make him sit at like before crossing the street or something.
Yeah.
And we gave him a treat, he would just leave it. Because he kind of just wants to go.
In the morning, if he goes to the bathroom, we give him a treat. Sometimes he'll just drop it on the ground and leave it.
He'll just whatever he wants.
Picky.
Yes.
All right. Well, you'll notice, obviously I'm going to get working with him in a minute here, but a lot of this intro stuff, like, if I have a dog that's really apprehensive with new people, obviously, I try to just ignore them initially, let them kind of realize I'm not messing with you yet here, right? Nothing's happening. Chill out. You see he's kind of reverting to going and sniffing around and stuff, so that's good, obviously. What's your feeding schedule with him?
We do 1 scoop morning, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
So you do 3 meals a day still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't really.
But he doesn't usually eat.
Is there a reason you do the 3 meals a day?
No.
Just do it, just to do it?
Well, and sometimes too, he doesn't eat morning.
So you do it as like,
lunch.
I understand. Yeah.
We hadn't been training him now. We just started them like after our first session.
Yep.
So like in the morning we'll give him a scoop, and then at lunchtime,
he might eat it.
he might have had it or he might eat it at lunch.
I gotcha.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't really have a set.
Typically speaking, and I like to try to get some sort of food motivation out of the dog. Yeah. I'm a pretty firm believer that non-food motivated dogs don't really exist. Like you figure food is a survival mechanism, right? It's basically like if they're not food motivated, like they're dead, right? So I try to look at like our feeding routines, and 9 out of 10 times dogs that aren't very food motivated are just overfed in their daily meals, right? And you're seeing that because he's skipping meals, right? And that's just him saying, I'm not really that hungry right now. You know what I mean? And listen, he's by no means like overweight or anything, but like he's regulating himself because he's being given too much food, right?
And there's some days we'll do him like a third, pick up his food bowl and give it to us and like want more.
Sure.
It's like,
well, and that's just it. Unfortunately with dogs, when they get themselves into this routine of like I skip a meal, then I skip another meal, and I gorge myself, right? Then I'm too full for the whole next day, right? Then it's like I skip a meal, and it just kind of never catches up with itself. So I would definitely like to see you guys get that feeding under control where it's consistent, because it's going to help you a lot with his motivation with things. I think it's healthier for the dogs, et cetera, et cetera. If he were my dog, what I would do right away, so you said you're doing 1 cup, 1 cup, 1 cup, or you're offering that much currently, and no, you're doing some treats on top of that, but not really?
Treats when he goes outside to the bathroom.
Any other like edible chews or anything you're giving him?
He has a a couple, what are those, Nylabones?
That wouldn't be, like I'm talking,
No, not really.
like like raw hides or like edible marrow bones or things like that.
He's had one marrow
Okay.
bone, and like when he was
So
a
then every
baby.
now and then
but-
we'll do like a pup cup.
Sure, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. So what I would do if you were my dog is I would eliminate all treats altogether, and I would switch to 2 meals a day, 1 cup, and I would do that for a week and see where we're at. And then from there, like I said, we would make the call after another week. Does it seem like he's getting more consistent about eating it? You know, if he's not, we would cut it back a little bit more and figure out what's going to be kind of the appropriate amount that he balances out at. A dog his size, 2 cups a day is pretty standard.
Okay.
You know, so I don't think that that'll be too much. I don't think that'll be too little. I
Now,
think that'll
if he
probably be
doesn't
pretty
eat it
good.
right away, do we take it away?
Yeah, and then wait until the next meal time before you give it again. And then the big thing with it is it's not rollover food. So, you know,
like 2 cups, yeah.
yeah, if he skips breakfast, he's not going to get 2 cups in the evening. He's just going to get 1 cup. Because again, we want it to catch up with himself. Where if you skip this meal, you're going to be hungry for the next one. Yeah, if you skip this meal, you're going to be hungry for the next one. Then you're going to eat it all. Then you're still going to be a little bit hungry, so you eat your breakfast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or if we give him that 2 cups in the evening, then same deal, will fall into that trap where he's not hungry in the morning. So keep holding it with your left hand and hand me the leash with your right. And I'm going to trade you. I'm going to have you hold this. And then in a second here, what I'm going to have you do is you're going to let go of the leash, and then you're just going to stop walking, and I'm going to keep cruising with him, and then I'll tell you when to pick up with me. All right, you can go ahead. And you guys can keep cruising with me now. I just wanted him to realize I'm walking him. And basically what I want to do is work exactly what I did right there and see how he does with some additional distractions. Oof, it's getting bright out. Come on, bud. So you guys can hang out right about there. I'm just going to be in this area here. Same deal, loose on the leash. Come. No. Come. And giving that leash correction if he doesn't maintain position, obviously.
Now, like when I take him on walks like this week, like around the neighborhood.
Yep.
Should I be like practicing this the whole time, or?
So, yes, a little bit to answer your question. So basically what you're going to implement is a variation of this. We call it kind of the 180 drill. So basically what you're going to do is if we're walking this way, right, I'm going for my walk, I start noticing he gets too far ahead, I make a 180 with the leash pop, obviously, go the opposite direction. And then again, if I need to, I would 180, leash pop, go the opposite direction, you know? And typically after a couple of those, if you're firm enough with them, you typically will get them just kind of glued to you, like we're seeing right now. But yeah, you should be looking to see less tension on the leash overall.
Yeah.
That's kind of the ultimate goal of this, is him understanding how to keep himself there, as opposed to us holding him there. Because even though that walk was good, I had constant tension on that leash to maintain that position, you know? And this will be easier when we add the e-collar in, because that's going to do basically the same thing, but you should be able to get it looking a little bit better implementing this.
And now if we come upon someone or
Yep.
a dog, well, what do you suggest we do?
Create distance. Yeah, a lot of people will shorten, right? But the problem is the tighter that leash is, the more that's going to make him want to actually react from the frustration of the leash. Where I tell everybody, like, let's say Paige is coming up here, right? And I'm walking this way, you know, I'm not going to pass like this close, you know? I'm going to arc around where if he were to lunge, he couldn't get all the way to her. You know what I mean?
That's usually what we do.
Yeah, so just making sure, obviously, when you're doing it, you're staying loose on that leash, you know?
Okay, so not holding him tight, but still giving him a distance.
Exactly.
A lot of times though, like if I do it, I want, cause a lot of times I'm forced like into the street, so I mean,
Sure.
I want to hold them tight there, kind of.
Yeah, understood. So, you know, maybe at that point, if there's a way you could go in the opposite direction around a lawn or something like that, you know. But your goal is, you know, again, same deal, loose leash here. So same deal. As I'm walking here, let's say I start arcing around and he's glued over there. That's where I can give leash pop in this direction, you know.
So if he starts to like lunge or get on his legs, just pop him.
Yeah, the pop should happen well before he gets on his legs, right? Because you should catch it the second he starts veering off, no, pop, right? And that should be able to shift that attention off and onto you. And again, easier said than done, I know. You know, it's going to take a little bit of figuring out exactly how to do it, obviously. But that's kind of how this starts to come together, you know?
To keep moving versus stopping and making him just stop?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of, at this point, because we're not addressing that stuff head on yet, you know, the goal is let's just get past it as quick as we can, you know? So yeah, the quicker you're moving, a lot of times, the less he's going to be able to fixate and engage.
Okay.
So, all right, so I'm gonna add a couple of those stops in here, obviously, like we were doing inside. Making sure you're staying with me. Good job, buddy. Come. No. Come. So obviously with dog distractions, once he starts hyping himself up, much more firm with that correction. Good.
But a lot of times it's that like crying.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like barking, just crying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the arousal coming out of them, you know? And it's not the arousal that's the problem, it's what he does when he gets aroused. So I'm not so worried about that. Good. I'm just worried that he makes the right choice.
Yeah.
It's rush hour. Good. Dang, look at that dog walking like a champ. Good job, buddy. She's doing pretty good, obviously. Good. Good. Bridget, do you want to walk around us a couple times here? Good comment slash question here. So it's normal that dogs that are being reactive or exhibiting reactive behaviors, they're gonna watch the trigger, you know, because he's concerned. That's why he's reacting in the first place. And you typically don't go from super concerned to like, I'm just literally not even gonna look at it, you know? There's usually a little bit of a middle ground where it's like, I'm concerned about that thing and I'm gonna keep my eye on it, but I'm not gonna react.
Instead of like looking at the dog, he was
Sure.
looking at her.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's just, you know, he may be more concerned with people than he is with other dogs. That's just him telling us which trigger he cares more about, so. Good job, bud. And again, like we talked about, really important that once we've kind of stopped some of the behavior, we let him be successful with this a little bit, which is why we're just, even though he's doing well, continuing to work this. Good. Now once we get that food drive up, this is where we would start rewarding, obviously. Yeah, we'll see if, we should be able to, in the next 2 weeks, get that looking really good. You know, like I said, we'll see after this first week how he does with it. Might need to make one more adjustment to it, and then we should be getting somewhere with it. This is great. He's doing really well. Good work, buddy. Cool, that's good. Thank you, Bridget.
he started fighting with my brother's dog, which he grew. I mean, my brother's dog is one, and he's a GSP, so high energy, and introduced as like a tiny puppy. And then most recently, probably within the last month and a half, the puppy turned 1 on March 17th, and they have gotten into a couple like fights where they've scratched each other and bit each other, and had to be pulled apart. But like if we initially like they'll have a reaction and then we pull them apart, and then we can like they can be around each other, but it's not like it was.
I understand. Yeah. What? Give me like what's the last fight they got in? Like what happened?
You were outside. I was. Well, a fight or just like a reaction?
Whatever squabble that you've seen.
The last time we were at her parents' house, we had him out, the 2 other dogs that her parents have outside.
Yep.
The 3 of them, you know, hanging out.
So there's a bunch of dogs?
Yeah, there's 3 in the house.
Okay, yeah.
We bring him over, so there's 4 total.
Yep.
So we have him and 2 others outside. We'll keep the GSP inside. Her brother came out with the GSP on a leash, and he was like on the back deck. He kind of came up the back deck. He was kind of by me.
So he was off leash. The other dog was on leash.
And the GSP kind of like went to bark and bite towards him, and he kind of like had a reaction. He didn't really lunge at him. He like kept going towards him, and that's when I like stepped in front of him.
I understand.
And backed up right away.
Yeah. Okay.
Before that though, they were just outside the 2.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but they were just outside in the grass, and her and her mom were on the porch or something. And all of a sudden, they just started.
Yeah,
and they didn't really see what happened.
And then like you can't pull them apart because obviously they're biting each other, so we have to get the hose out, spray them, and I got sprayed.
I gotcha. Yeah, so we'll get into socialization with him. It's hard to say without knowing really where he's at socially, you know. 9 out of 10 times when I hear people that tell me a similar story to this, where it's like they have a family member or something like that that has like get-togethers where there's a decent amount of dogs together, you know, like 4, I would say is a lot for 4 dogs that don't live in the same house with each other, obviously.
The 3 live in the same house all the time.
Yes.
And then he was going twice a week. Play date one day, and then just with us for Sunday dinner.
Yes.
And they were fine.
Yeah.
For a whole year.
The thing with fighting is all it takes is like one thing to happen, and then suddenly they're like, okay, we're fighting now. You know what I mean? So it's not that you're not going to be able to socialize with those dogs. We'll definitely figure out a plan for how you can go about doing it. But that's usually, it just kind of switch, you know what I mean? Just like his behavior with people and stuff like that, how I'm sure it wasn't this intense right off the rip with him. It was kind of this slow progression, but then once it started, it kind of started. It's kind of similar to how they get with dogs, you know? So I try to make sure with any dog, especially dogs that have like social limitations or you know, are a little sketchy with other people or other dogs or whatever it may be, I try to make sure, at least for a decent chunk of time, I am extremely proactive about what types of social situations I put my dog in. You know what I mean? Because like, I'll tell you, like, let's say, and I don't know if this is how you did the Sunday dinners or anything like that, but let's say every Sunday dinner, it's like you went there with him and you guys were going for the purpose of Sunday dinner, obviously, but all the dogs are together. That's probably not a great time to have him over there, right? It's not that you couldn't do that eventually with him, but you guys are going to be preoccupied with enjoying your company, right? You guys are going to be eating, you know, drinking, this, that, and the attention is not going to be solely on the dogs, right? So again, if something does happen, it's like we got a 9 out of 10% chance that we're going to miss it and not know it happened and not know how to stop it again moving forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the last couple of times, that's what it is. Like, on the ground with him. Her brother has the GSP by him. And like, as soon as they get up to do something, it's like, all right, you got to keep your eye on the dog.
Exactly, right?
It's enjoyable for us then either.
100%.
Prior to the fighting, we went there every Sunday, so he would play and run around, and they would play outside, and we would throw the ball.
And like I said, there, and you know, even just like looking at little pieces of that, like you're talking throwing the ball, obviously. Then you get into like when we're socializing dogs that don't live in the same house. It doesn't really matter how long they've known each other for. Dogs that don't live in the same house with each other are not going to have the same like relationship with each other. You know what I mean? It's just different. Like my 4 dogs, they have such a unique and interesting relationship amongst all of them. But if I just throw another dog in, like my sister has a dog, right? And when she comes over for certain things, like she'll bring her dog over and stuff like that. And still, even in those situations, we put the toys away, right? We put the food away. There's no treats or anything like that given out, because I just know that given the right circumstances, it can turn into a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So again, we'll get into socialization and stuff like that. There's just going to be some rules to like how you guys do it specifically to let it be really successful, so they could redevelop that relationship with each other that they had before. So does that answer your question, kind of? And like I said, as far as why it happened, like I said, like, yeah, like it sucks that they were good for a year, then suddenly it happened, but he's a young dog still, right? He probably was hitting maturity around the time they started having problems with each other, and it kind of just, you know, built on it.
Like, honestly, the last time it was
Yeah.
the other dog that started it.
Sure.
The other times you couldn't tell because they were just like playing,
Yeah.
and then it started. So we don't know.
It's hard to say, you know? And the cool thing is, as we get further along in the training and we get him remote collar trained and stuff like that, you could socialize him in the yard, and let's say hypothetically he decides, I'm gonna go off on this other dog or something like that. Nope. You know, you could stop it like that, right? That's kind of the cool thing about e-collars with some of this kind of stuff. And that's going to put you in a position where you can continue to socialize him and put him in all these situations and feel confident that if something happens, I know how to address it, right? So there's a lot that goes into socialization. We're going to spend probably a whole session or 2 sessions on just socialization alone with him, obviously. But right now, I want to really start to get a handle on some of just the reactivity to things he's not socializing with.
Yeah, we're more concerned with like the people and that
Sure.
versus like socialization. If we can't socialize, then that's what.
Oh, listen, no, we're going to get there. Like I said, we got plenty of stuff we got to work on with him. So we'll absolutely get you guys a good plan as far as socialization. We're just starting with, obviously, we got to get that attention on us, right? So I think he did phenomenal. I think that was really good, especially for my first time working him. I think we worked through some really good distractions. He's held this sit for the last 5 minutes while we've been talking, which is awesome, right?
So hard.
Doing super, super good. He'll be nice and tired for you guys. So biggest things you're going to be working on right now is adding in the leash correction. So you're going to try to stay looser on your leash, and you're going to be adding in your no with your pop, right? Now, biggest thing I tell everybody with this, most people are way too light with their pop, right? You're not going to hurt them, right? Make sure you're nice and motivating about it around the distractions especially, and just get this under control. If you're finding yourself popping every 4 seconds, you're doing something wrong, you know? So I would rather give 2 or 3 good ones like we did inside and when we did out here, and have him just be in the zone from that point on, than have to nag him the whole time, you know? So keep that in mind with it. But I think he looks awesome.